Okay, so eventually you will have an assignment due on your independent reading book. And technically, that due date is October 21st, which is a little less than a month away from today. So I want to give you plenty of time to get into your book. You might even change books before that due date, and if you do, that's fine. Just keep reading, and eventually you are going to write a letter to your classmate about whatever book you are reading. So I will give you a little bit of in-class work time to work on your letters, but the majority of these letters on your independent reading books are going to be homework. But for those of you who finished your performance task, you could start on your letter now, or you could just continue reading your independent reading book, to have more to talk about in your letter. Whoops. Okay, so the way that you can access the assignment for your independent reading book is to go to Google Classroom, click on the About section, and then go to Letter to a Classmate Example and Thinking Stems. So go ahead and have both of those open. All right, so there are our thinking stems. There are quite a few of them. And here is the sample letter. Okay, so I want you to follow along on the sample letter just with my audio. We're going to start with the top at about once a month. So about once a month you'll be asked to write a letter to a classmate about your independent reading book. Below you'll find instructions, grading criteria, and examples. So this won't happen every month necessarily, or it might be a month and a half in between. It just kind of depends on the balance between our other schoolwork and this, but you can count on it happening regularly. So you can write your letter no matter what place you are at in your book. So if you're like, I can't write a letter, I'm only 5 pages into my book, you definitely still could. There's a lot that you can infer. There's a lot that could be foreshadowed in those first 5 pages that you could choose to talk about. Okay, so also just know that whenever you finish a book, in that letter that happens to come at the same time at the end of your book, in that particular letter I want you to tell your classmate in part of your letter whether you would recommend the book to that person or not, and why. Okay, so let's look at the structure of the letter to a classmate. So first of all, I will choose partners. I might let you choose partners for your very first one, but from then on out, it'll be a good way for you to get to know other people, and I will choose them. So, dear whomever, let's say Dear Joe, for example, comma. The first paragraph in your letter should be indented, which means I need you to click tab, right? So like right now it's not indented. Oh, what the heck? Okay, oh, great, okay. This is a waste of time. All right, just kidding, but you do need to indent, and you need to tell me the title of your book. And I need you to properly punctuate it, which means if it's an actual book, which it should be italicized or underlined, not quoted. Name the author of your book and then give a brief summary of the events so far in your book. So I'm not going to take the time right now in this audio version of the lesson to tell you what the summary should look like. I want you to take time to read my summary here in the first paragraph about Out of the Dust, the book that we will actually be reading all together as a class. And don't worry, there are no spoilers here. It's just an overview. Okay, the second paragraph should be indented and respond to a thinking stem. Now, this is what I really wanted to explain to you, a thinking stem. All right, so thinking stems, as you know, you can find here. And they basically just kind of give you a sentence starter for something that you could talk about in the book. So let's see, my thinking stem is right now, I'm wondering. So I just picked that one and then I went on to say what I was wondering about in the book. And I elaborate on that. Okay, so for example, I wonder. Okay, so I went with this one. I wonder. And you can choose any of these that you want. I do not care. Okay, and I think it makes me think is also a thinking stem. So I have a couple of thinking stems in this first body paragraph here. All right, the third paragraph is the same thing where you're going to choose a thinking stem, you'll indent, and you'll just go on to elaborate on your thinking. And if you kind of run out of things to say with one thinking stem, well then choose another. I'd say 1 to 2 thinking stems per paragraph. My paragraphs are pretty big. Yours don't necessarily have to be this long, but I hate to put number of sentences in there, but like 5 to 7, 7 to 10 sentences in a paragraph. I think that would be good. Okay, so the 4th paragraph in your final paragraph should be indented and include what you are still wondering about, a prediction, what you are looking forward to, or how this book will impact your own life. So making personal connections is a great way to connect with a book, interact with a book, and then also maybe to inspire other people to take interest in a book. So that's the idea. I want you to read through my example. You can look through the grading criteria here in terms of what gets you a 3, what gets you a 4, and etc. And again, thinking stems are here. So in order to access the document for creating your letter to a classmate, you actually have to create it yourself in your Google Drive. So I'm not going to have anything for you in terms of a formal assignment here in Google Classroom. You'll be in charge of creating a new document in your Drive, typing it up, and printing it out, turning it in, and then I'll give it to you to give it to your classmate. Something like that. All right, so that's the deal. Right now, you can either give it a shot and get your letter out of the way before October 21st, or you can just continue reading so that you have more to talk about in your letter.